All right, yeah, doing another, I don't know what the hell you want to call it, rant thingamabobamajig. Um, yeah, I guess one of the reasons why is because I went online this morning. I wanted to, I went to the old ConSim World Forum to take a look at some of the old posts that Dave Schroeder wrote. You know, there's over 13,000 messages of about Der Weltkrieg on that forum, and if you want the real Der Weltkrieg deal, let's be honest, I'm a charlatan, and I mean that. I'm not, you know, I wouldn't come here for, you know, all things Der Weltkrieg, that's for bloody sure. There were posts up to yesterday, and several posts at that forum. So what I'm saying is, if you really want to discuss or find out what the true what's going on with Der Weltkrieg, I would say probably go there. What else? That being said, even these videos sometimes I'm like, for the most part, they're for me because I just need to, like, sometimes I've mentioned before, and it's, well, this one I need to put this big chunk of thought to bed so I can move on with other stuff. It's a recurring theme. It's going to pop up again, and yeah, I went for a walk at around 4:30 in the morning. I'm so glad I did, man, because it started to cloud over, and it was great to, I got to see the crescent moon, you know, got to stare at it, and, you know, with a bit more of a, bit more context, I guess, or importance with everything that's going on with it right now, and so that was pretty neat. But anyways, I got to think about, yet again, how am I going to do that, like, what I'm going to do with the Grand Campaign, and it got me thinking about, is there some way I can have the best of both worlds, you know, like that have your cake and eat it too kind of thing. I was like, okay, so you're going to maybe rework the combat system or the way things are moved around, yet you still want to have this specificity of, you know, connection with division and so on and so forth. So I was thinking, okay, maybe I'll do something like, it'll be very broad, it'll be very, you know, when I'm doing most of the combats, it'll be very impersonal or whatever you want to call it, and then pick a corps from each army and I'll follow them along at a more detailed approach. I was like, okay, that could be interesting. And I like it. I like the streamlined narrative aspect of it. But then, like I said, I went onto the forum and I downloaded a few. I'll read them out, some of them out. Maybe it'll give me a bit more of an idea of what the heck Dave Schroeder was thinking, and whether or not I'm going down the right path. And also, yet again, I've got to ask myself maybe some basic questions. Why do I want to play the Grand Campaign? Like, what do I want to do with it? Like, exactly. Like, honestly, what am I trying to get out of this? Is there another game out there, or a game system or something that can do what I want? Also, am I playing the game? Or is the game, when I do the Grand Campaign and whatnot, just becoming, and I think I've alluded to this before, is it just a tool, no different in essence than journal writing or going online and looking up historical commanders' names and biographies, or reading history books and developing narrative, and like, what's the difference? because I'm no longer playing the game. For example, if I'm playing, you know, when I do the Caporetto thing, that would be playing the game. Or if Rob comes over for an afternoon to play something with me, that's playing the game. But when I start going off into this, what is it then? Anyways, and I think for me, what I'm cluing into is, yeah, when I get to the grand campaign, it's going to become a tool. And when I start to realize that, and it may change with my, you know, whatever, I mean, it's a long ways, but realizing what it's going to be for me has settled my mind with a lot of things. It's like, okay, now I know how I can approach it and how I can go about things. At least now I know the direction I want to go in and the destination, in a sense. I don't know if the word destination is the right word. Yeah, direction, and just keep going that way, because there is no destination, to be honest with you. So that's that. Okay, I'll start reading a little bit of the... another thing I want to mention about counters. Well, I can't wait to figure out, once I get to a proper spot. I mean, I'm using scissors right now, for crying out loud. Because the things are so small, they just don't work with the X-Acto knife very well. It's very difficult to manipulate them. It'd be nice to get to this when I feel it's appropriate to buy better technology, and to get. I'm just not there yet. When I've figured out the approach or techniques I want to use, then I'll go that. Mind you, oh my gosh, the font, this bound shrift, regular font, and also you can fiddle with it. I mean, you can get the condensed and all that. Wow, I really like it. It's really, geez, for, I may be completely wrong. Maybe game designers and everybody else would be like, oh, what in the world are you doing? But man, is it ever a nice font for counters? Holy moly, I love it. Yeah, about a bazillion. Oh yeah, for the counters. At least the way I do it with the glue stick stuff, take your time, man. Like last night, I rushed it a bit because I was like, oh, I want to put some stupid stuff in the Caporetto game. For what purpose? I'm not going to be playing the game for 300 years, for crying out loud. Like, cheapers jumping. Anyways, so I rushed it, and I've got a bazillion counters where the paper fell off the chipboard because I didn't allow the glue stick to or the glue from the glue stick to adhere properly. So patience is the key, man. Always, always, always. Let's see if I can do a bit of both here. And they're just going to be random chit chats, but maybe some random. Like, it's not in any order here. But let's get to the big juicy bit. I don't even know what the heck I'm viewing. Yeah, doesn't matter, does it really? Europa comparison. Woohoo! My series is meant to eventually be competition to Europa. All of the games are designed to be linkable, and this includes linking between World War I and World War II. The World War I rules are the most basic. World War II rules units will look much more complex. Oh my gosh. This is because I use separate strength values for infantry, really infantry and artillery, armor and anti-tank. Air units are in Geishwater strength. I don't know what he's talking about. Approximately 75 planes, but have 6 steps, about 12 planes per step. The ground component of the air units would have separate counter, so rebasing all over the place while conducting operations is limited, and so that ground attacks on air bases are more realistic. You know what planes are there, even while the counters are off on some mission. The rules would be like Schlieffenplan, but with the additional complexity added in. I don't understand this Europa comparison. I don't like ants. I don't know what that means. They are very distracting. They are built into larger units in my games, hence German divisions of the same type in Schlieffenplan having different strengths. Also, and this is my biggest problem with Europa, I don't know anything about Europa, man. Nothing. And this is my biggest problem with Europa. The game turn represents too much time. 4 days per turn is the best for representing operational theater combat. And I tried all kinds of different timescales before making this decision. Grand game. The reason that there are resource centers on the map is that I want to play grand games myself. I love having control of my own production and want this to be a part of games. The intent is to have a grand game across World War I and World War II that is like the one shown on the webpage. Which probably doesn't exist anymore. And yeah, like I said, it's second. The terrain on the map is, I don't know if this is, like I said, it's pretty random. I'm just all over the place here. I set up the supply system to be by strength point because I always felt cheated by having to expend supply for divisions at very low strength. I thought that since you have to count strength points anyway, that it wouldn't add too much extra complexity. The system also works with supply expenditure by division and can be played that way. Last, this is from someone, not him. You didn't ask. Yes, no, it is by him. That's right. I only put his stuff in. Last, you didn't ask about this, but want to add something about the combat resolution system. It is what I like to refer to as entirely strength point dependent. Every additional strength point brought to bear in an attack increases your ability to do damage. Also, all combat results are in terms of strength points that opposing units lose. I wanted to show that combat always results in losses, which I believe is reality. I've never thought that it was realistic to have units involved in numerous combats and, by the heavy use of DR and AR results, end up still at full strength at the end of a campaign. Clarifications. You have to reduce units of the highest priority to backside strength first. Then reduce away at those units until that type is gone. Then repeat this process for the next priority of unit. This means that you should rarely attack with cavalry. Oh my God! Lord have mercy, man. If I had read that before, Jesus. It takes double supply for the defense because while an attacker is half moving, half shooting, the defender is constantly shooting. I will discuss this more at a later time. It's an interesting story how this rule was figured out. The attacker does have to supply whenever attacking. Yeah, I think I'll end the... Hold on here. Oh, the combat system of the game is designed so that every strength point you bring to bear influences the attack. I got tired of having 31 strength points attacking some 8 strength point unit and having to use 3-to-1 odds. Any commander in real life would use and want to use everything available and expect it to increase his chances of success. The game uses a shorter game turn than most other games of this scale. A 2-week game turn makes a game an abstract. 4-day turns allows more realistic action-reaction decision-making between players. First, the turn sequence is rather simple. It is the move phase, and then the combat phase, then the same for other side. Complexity in the turn sequence will be added as more complex systems are introduced. This simple turn sequence works because of setting time per turn to about 4 days. If the turns were longer periods of time, I would have to use a much more complex turn sequence. Yeah, and he talks about this game is going to be an operational level game. that will cover all of World War I, World War II, and modern periods using the same systems. After all, leg infantry units move today just like they did in 1914. I use the division brigade level because that is the level to which I think you could direct things from the supreme command level. Battalions are really only effectively controlled by division commanders. Corps units often contain support units, like large chunks of artillery, that should be available to other units in the vicinity. The map uses terrain based on the hex side instead of the hex because this increases the options available to the players. It also adds more realism into unit movement without sacrificing playability. The graphics are without a doubt far beyond anything out there. Wargame artwork seems to have been stagnant for quite a while. The entire map is about 40 times the size of the map in the Schlieffen plan. Covers all of Europe, North Africa, and the Middle East. You know, maybe I'll end this here with this, what Ken was saying there, where the game doesn't kind of, in a way, seem to understand. Like, he put it really well in one of my comments. And I'm not going to probably do a very good job paraphrasing what he said, but yeah, it seems like it doesn't know what it wants to do. And it's stuck in that halfway spot. And I wonder sometimes when I've mentioned me looking at the map or approaching it with that bifocal way of looking at it, maybe that's that issue. I don't know. And yet again, when I look at the hex, when he mentions the hex sides, gosh, man, the hex sides. Let's be honest. That's a pretty. That's a pretty detailed part of the 20 kilometers across hex. If you're looking at it that way. So yeah, it's got that. Anyways, I'm gonna take time, but there's something there. It's elusive, but there's going to be a, I can, oh darn it, I can see, like, once in a while you're like, well, how are you going to deal with certain special troops with their ability? For example, I can't remember, the certain stormtroopers or whatever, they have an amazing ability the first time you use them, and after that they're not so good, or something like that. I guess it's to represent shock troops or whatever they're called. So is there some way of incorporating that ability and still keep it a strength point thing? I think so. You just have it as a one-off modifier or something like that. Yeah, anyways, there's going to be stuff there. Yeah, I'm going to leave it there because I need to just focus on whatever. Some other thoughts pop into my head. They do, they don't.